Greetings. In this video, we are going to talk about displaying diverse types of data that is not stored in a variable. We are also going to talk about using the sep and end arguments of the print function. So let's start by creating our new file. Right, having done this, it's now time for us to talk a little bit of what we exactly need to discuss. There are times when we need to output data. This data can be stored in a variable. This data can also not be stored in a variable. It's not every value that we have to store in a variable, especially when a value is not going to be used more than once. There is no reason for us to just have another variable for that data. So it means we may need to display that data on the fly. In my previous video, I talked about printing variable data. You may check it out if you did not go through it. It's very informative. We also printed variables along with labels. And we said that the print function can receive main values, which it can convert to a stream of data and display it, especially now because we are writing console-based programs. Let's look at how we can print strings, how we can display string values which are not declared or stored in a variable. We want to print hello world. This is for our string. Hello world. Right, when we print hello world, we put it as a single string, but we can choose to print it in two parts and say hello world. Now here we put a single string value. Now we are giving our Python printer two values, a hello and a world, so that it can display it for us. But for strings, this comma is not necessary. We can still print hello world without the use of a comma in between, because string values that are adjacent to each other don't need a comma between them for printing. Let's see the output. Okay, hello world. But as you can see there, now it's being treated as a single word. It's concatenated. So that makes it very important that if we don't want to put a comma, then we can put a space on the second part of our word, that now we get hello world. Enough about that. If we still need to retain our comma, we can still put it here. Now let's talk about other types of data besides strings. Our labels can be values of any data type. We spoke about labels before, but they still apply even if we are printing non-variable data. We need to label our output, so the labels can be values of any data type. Or let's say we want to print gems, and we know that gems is a name, so our label is name. Now the value we are printing is gems. So I'm saying this value on the right, gems, needs to be typed in the manner that it could have been assigned to a variable. A string always needs quotes. That is what differentiates it from other data types. If you are going to be printing a list, then we want to see the values in the square brackets. The curly brackets always work for the sets, the parentheses for your tuples, and your curly brackets and key values for your dictionaries. So in the same way you declare or you assign a value to a variable, it has to be printed. Now let's look at how we do it with other data types like integers. Print age, just a value 34, because when you assign a 34, you don't need to put it in quotes even when you're storing to a variable. height 1,65. Yes, nothing changes, just has to be typed like that because that's how it's assigned to a variable. A true will always be written as a true. That's how a boolean is assigned to a variable, so that's how we have to display it. That is our false. For our tuples, we have to put it in those parentheses. Our set should always be in our curly brackets. And that is how we display our dictionary. Okay, let's run our program and see it working and see the printer. Okay, these are the values that are printed. Everything is working as we want. So just remember that we display a value by typing it in the manner that it is supposed to be assigned in a variable. Because what makes a string are those quotes. What makes a list are those square brackets. What makes a tuple are those parentheses. What makes a set are those curly brackets. What makes a dictionary are the key values pairs which are inside your curly brackets. So this is how we display data of different data types in our program. Now let's talk about the end argument of the print function. The default end argument value of a print function is a new line. For example, when I showed some in one of my videos, I said that we can print the help of the print function, and when we do that, we will see the arguments that are accepted by the print function. So as you can see here, there is a sep which we shall talk about, which is a string space. Then there is this new line, which means that when a print ends, it ends on a new line. So now we want to talk about this end argument. Now this can be customized. We can utilize any behavior of our choice. For example, let's display the following. we want to use the end value of a hash. The end can be a value of any data type. Now we want to display age, but for age we want to type a 34, and we want to put an end value, this time of a question mark. Then we can print our height, or we can just copy the height printer from line 6 here. Then we can print our height. Now I'm going to comment this out. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, here is the output, as you can see. Now we printed using a hash, and we put a gems. We displayed our gems, and we said the end is no longer a new line, the end is a hash. Therefore, this line did not start on a new line, but it was printed just after the output of line 17. So that's why you see our age being 34 on the same line as gems. And after that, for this line, we put an end of a question mark, which means the new line is not going to start on a new line, but the new line is going to print just after our line 18 output. Therefore, that's how you see this value on the same line using the end argument. If we are going to print probably another value here, completed is equal to true, we can put an end value of just an open space. If we want space, we have to put it, and we can print our finished is equals to false. Now for finished, we don't want to use an AND argument for that. Then we can print our hello world. Now let's run and see what's going to happen. So the height is going to go to the same output as line 18. Completed is equals to true is going to pull line 21 to its own output line. As you can see, the end is an open space. So this is where the open space is coming from. So which means the next print line is going to be on the same line as line 20. But on line 21, we didn't put an end value for the argument. Therefore, the default is a new line. That is why this is on a new line. Now, let's talk about the other argument, which is called the sep. The default separator is just an empty space. This is why when you print this value after this using the end name and we put a full colon, we never put space after this full colon. Neither did we put space before gems, because the default separator is an empty space. That's how Python formats our output. So we want to customize that. We can give the sep any value of our choice, and the Python function is going to use the separator to separate its output. So let's look at how we can customize our sep. As I said, you can put any value of your choice. Okay, so this is how it goes. We want to use the double pipe for our sep. Print with no sep argument. Right, here we are not using any separator. In other words, we are not passing any custom separator, which means that the Python will use its default separator. Now we want to put a separator for this. We have to pass our sep here, sep is equals to a double pipe. Now let's run our program and see how it's going to look like. Right, so you can see now here there is no sep. So with no sep argument, num list, these are the numbers, and you can space after every value that we passed. After this string label, there is a space. After this list, there is a space. After this label, there is a space, because that is the default separator. But if you look at it now with this one, now we are replacing the space with a double piper, which means that we are using a custom separator. So this marks the end of this video, where we talked about displaying non-variable data of different data types, and we made sure that we used the sep and the end arguments of the print function. As I said before, learn programming by programming. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to like, remember to comment and share. Also remember to subscribe. Stay well.